Mean by personal brand? We all hear that phrase, and so I want to break it down for you. In my latest episode of Giant TV, I walk through exactly how to develop a personal brand and how to get it out there to the world, and as my mom used to say, how to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. So join me on my episode here. Let's go check it out. Thanks for showing up. Hi, this is and welcome to TV. Really glad you could join me. And I'm the president and founder of GIANTHELP, where we help others to stand out, grow their business. This is my weekly show where I really put a lot of effort into value, highlighting strategies that can help you stand out with your own. And so let's jump into. We're getting into brand, and this is dear to my heart because we're that phrase, branding, but what is it really? When I hear that from somebody, I ask, you mean by personal brand? I have a different definition. I want to go through what for me, building out is helping others is, and about branding. And so let's get into this and go through really what is the personal brand, why you need to have it, and then how you should be using it. Now, I want to say here, there's a long, lengthy discussion, back and forth dialogue that goes into developing a personal brand. I'm giving you some highlights here. Obviously, not going to go into every single component, but my goal is to give you a good overview here so you get some sense of what it means to me, and maybe it can help you out. So the what. So think of your personal brand as your blueprint. All of the pieces and components that go into this personal brand blueprint that then is really the foundation for your business. And so when you think of it in that terms, think comprehensive, all the components, the elements, and as you get to know these pieces, then you can ask yourself, do I have them? Have I elevated certain parts of them? What am I missing? So just start by thinking big picture here, your personal brand blueprint, your blueprint. So part of it is the colors, fonts, and images are important when it goes in your personal brand. So as you're developing this, think about that. And it really does matter because, colors elicit emotions, for example, and you may have a business where you want it to be more serious. I'm building out a law firm and we want, more of a serious takeaway that people get from us. And so we're using blacks, grays, and creating that feeling of seriousness around the content for the law firm. But lighthearted can be the focus for something like my media company, or maybe you have more of a creative agency or something, or whatever the case is. But think about colors, fonts, and images, and what do you want people to think when they see these images, they see your style? What do you want them thinking about you? So think about your prospect when you're putting this together, your message, the value you're delivering, and tie in the colors, the fonts, and the images. Images, I mean social media images on your banners for different channels, your email, blog, all that stuff where you incorporate images. Think about that. Value proposition is really important when it comes to developing your personal brand. The value proposition is what you do, who you do it for, and why you're better than the next person. And so I always tell people, take a step back and really think about your value proposition, get it concise, and get it on paper, massage that puppy, and finalize it. And then what happens is once you have that concise value proposition, it really allows you to have broader discussions with prospects and clients about what you do. And it just swims in your head, that value proposition. You got it down. And so when people are asking you questions, you're ready to go and you can expand on that value proposition. So that value prop is important. Get that down, get it in writing, save it somewhere, and have that. Okay, the why. Your brand is critically important. As I say here, it's the foundational springboard that drives your build. And by that, I mean it should be a starting point. And so you get your brand together, you figure out the components, and then from there, you really start to see where you can grow this brand, how you get it out there. Think of it like a box and what can fit in this box. When you develop that personal brand, it's identifiable, you see it, it really gets you thinking. It gets you thinking about strategies, tools you can use, uh, you know, the way you can bring this out to people. And I just like to put it in those terms is your brand really is a bedrock and uh, other things come from it in a big way. Also, the why you want to have a personal brand is obviously you want to stand out. We all want to stand out. And as my mom used to say, you want to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. And the problem I see today, or one of the problems, is everybody looks the same. On platforms like LinkedIn in particular, is people aren't standing out. They're not differentiating themselves from the pack. And because they haven't developed their personal brand, they're not doing the things to make a difference. And it's counterintuitive to what we all know we should be doing is stand out because you want to get eyeballs on you. And I always make the analogy here of being in a new town and you're driving down Restaurant Row and there's 10 restaurants and 9 of them, there's no line in front, there's no signage, nobody inside, no lights are on, they're open, but they just look like a morgue. And then there's one restaurant, line in front, lights on, signage, cool stuff's going on, there's noise around it. Which one are you going to want to check out? Never been there before. Of course, that one restaurant that's standing out. So I compare you and me on platforms like LinkedIn as standing out. Be that noisy restaurant, have the lights on, and people then are going to want to get to know you, and you're going to get people looking at you and wanting to talk to you. So why you want to have a personal brand is also because when you develop a brand, and which includes your messaging, and you're thinking about your prospects, you want to focus on your prospects' emotions. And this, when you develop a brand, it helps you do this because your prospects, what really they're craving is security, safety, fun, solutions. These are the emotions that come to mind for them when they're thinking about what they need, as opposed to, I need this product, I need this service. They want these emotional fulfillments. And so when you have a personal brand and you think about your messaging and you think about the value proposition that you're bringing to your clients, you start thinking about their emotions and what drives them and the challenges and the obstacles they're dealing with and how you can bring solutions for that. So that's another huge reason why you want to have a personal brand. It gets you really involved in that scenario. Another big issue is you're getting analyzed by a lot of people and you want to have your best foot forward. So your prospects and clients, they're checking you out. They're checking you out on LinkedIn. They're checking maybe you're sending out an email. They're checking that out, the other platforms. But you want to control your story. You don't want others making judgments about you that are incorrect. And it's like walking into a room in real life at a networking event. You don't know anybody in there and you're going to meet people to make an impression. So what are you going to do? We've all been to these scenarios in real life. I've missed plenty of dinners with my family, those 4 kids that are always starving, but going to after work events, right? These networking events in my career. And when I walked in, I always wanted to make a good impression, right? I wasn't going to stand in the corner and wait for people to come to me. I wasn't going to stand around the appetizer table and stuff my face. I was going to walk around, meet people, and I wanted to dress right. I wanted to have a nice haircut. I back then had my business cards in my pocket of my coat, and I had a tie on. Hard to even imagine that these days. But I'd go out there, and people would see me. I was making noise. They were checking me out and making decisions whether they wanted to talk to me and so forth. Treat LinkedIn the same way. Is people are looking at you, control that story. Make sure that your brand on LinkedIn is optimized, elevated. You're doing all the things on the platform that they allow you to do to customize yourself, your summary, your banners, your images, the content, all that stuff. So the fact that people are analyzing you and making decisions about whether they even want to get on a phone call with you, let alone buy your service or product, is huge when it comes to why you should be having your personal brand going on. Also, LinkedIn is analyzing you. Another really important point, a lot of people miss this, is that everyone's got a social selling index on LinkedIn. It's called your SSI score. And LinkedIn did a study and with top marketers on the platform some years ago, measured it, built it into a social selling index, and you have a score, 1 to 100. 1, you're lousy, 100, you're great. And it compares you to your industry peer group on where you stand. And they measure 4 different quadrants, which involves branding. Are you taking advantage of the branding LinkedIn allows you to do? It involves content, video, and other things. Topic for another day. But it's important because if you're not having high social selling index scores, LinkedIn's pushing you down. The algo is treating you like garbage, not showing your stuff to anybody. You do not want to have a low score, or you can't ignore this. And you've got to do the activities that LinkedIn wants you to do to stand out. So that's another big reason is you're being measured by LinkedIn, and you got to know what that platform wants you to do. And so this is why developing your personal brand is huge. Okay, now we get to the how. So this is, once you've developed your brand, you've got the components going on there, got your messaging down, you're feeling pretty good about everything. Now, what do? How do you get this brand out there? And this is the $1 million question. And it's really the execution, which involves, marketing. Marketing is see me, see me, see me. It's the long game, I say, as opposed to selling, which is the short game. The selling is you're asking somebody to do something, get on a phone call, buy my service, attend an event. So, branding, although aligned with selling, is heavily aligned with marketing. And we all know when it comes to marketing, content is part of marketing. And so you've got to have a content strategy centered around your personal brand and all the things I mentioned so far, the value proposition, the colors, the fonts, how you're helping people, all these things. And content is problematic in ways today. I see a lot of content, as you do on LinkedIn, and everybody's putting out content, but most people are missing the mark. They're putting out content just to put out content. I got to have content. I got to have content. So they put out content. Go through your news feed. Nobody's looking at their content. 2 people, 1 person, nobody. And most people are sharing other people's content. Here's Warren Buffett's top 10 list. Here's Richard Branson's how-to. Here's, Inc. magazine. Here's blah, blah, blah. And not that content isn't great, but it's not doing anything for your personal brand or elevating you as an expert when you're constantly sharing other people's content. And so you've got to really think about this content strategy. And what's involved in it is original content. So instead of sharing other people's content, create your own. And it's not as hard as you may think. there is a ton of content available and out there trending to be repurposed into your own content. This is a discussion that comes up a lot when I'm working with people. Is some people have a million ideas in their head. They're like, okay, I got it. I'm ready to go with content, and we're shooting video, and we're doing all these things. Others just can't grab a hold of content, but not a problem, because there's many places to curate content, and repurpose it. The best place is always from your experience. If you got your own career challenges and obstacles and successes you've overcome, we've all had those. Those are number one, develop into your content strategy. But then there's a fountain of other stuff from sources like Flipboard, which is a free RSS feed, news magazine with trending topics to curate content and find ideas. So creating original content needs to be the focus and doesn't have to be a Herculean task. Your content needs to have emotion to it. And, emotion as far as the emotions of your prospect, and what are their emotions? What are the challenges they have? And, maybe you're a business coach and you're advising CEOs, and maybe a challenge, they have is, taking the next step in growth. They've hit a certain bar, but they just can't seem to get over that next hurdle. They're too busy. Their operations are bogging them down. They're spending too much time, running the business instead of trying to grow the business. So that's a big, big emotional barrier people hit, where they just can't seem to get past that next level. The business is either going to stagnate or go forward. And so, your content can address those issues and really pinpoint that emotion that many leaders are experiencing. So building emotion into the scenario. I mean, for me in the media company, I know the problems that smaller businesses have and solopreneurs of trying to grow and build. They don't have a team of 20 people pushing buttons and pulling levers. They don't want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on wasted strategies. And there's so much noise out there trying to figure out, what really should I do? What do I use? Do I do Facebook ads? Do I, focus on LinkedIn? I see that all the time. So for me, it's about really addressing those emotional barriers and realities of growing a practice. And so for you, think about that. Emotion is key. Original content, and then video, images, text, posting. These are the types of content that resonate on platforms like LinkedIn. Certainly video. I have done whole segments on video. It's a huge focus for me and those who I help, getting a video strategy going. No longer a choice today, mandatory, because clients and prospects are demanding it. All the stats bear it out. There is no argument anymore. Video is king, and people want to watch a video to learn about your service, your product, your story, rather than written content. So the content needs to be focused on this. And I want to just highlight what probably all of you have seen, is what Corona's doing with their product, and how they've incorporated Snoop here in helping them. Is that what really is Corona selling? Are they selling this beer? Obviously they are, but they're really selling happiness, sun, the beach, summer. Snoop's on a beach somewhere, and it's nice outside, and that beer looks refreshing. And so the idea here, just to confirm what I'm talking about, is, okay, we know they want you to buy a beer, but they really have tapped into our emotions of, all the things that people love: happiness, beach, fun, summer. So I just thought it was an interesting example. I just tend to focus on things. I see these things, and I'm like, man, they really are doing a good job with this. Okay. So now it's the how. Got your personal brand. So how do you get it out there and how do you execute on it? Well, you're building this content, right? So you have your original content, you've got that dialed in, and what really needs to happen is consistency. You've got to be consistent with the right type of content. It is not consistent with the wrong type of content, sharing other stuff. Who cares? It's not doing anything. You got to be consistent with the right content, but consistency is key. And, this is making a lot of noise. This isn't, a post a month or, a post even a week. It's having a strategy, making it efficient, automating what you can, and just having a consistent process that where you're showing up and making some noise. So key component, consistency. Community building, really, really important. And where we start normally with folks, as an example, is start building out your community. LinkedIn is a great place to build a community, but how do you do that? And there are really unique ways to build a big community of people that are great connections and followers on the platform. And they involve tools and strategies I will go into now. But you want to build up a big community, because when you have a bigger community, then there's more noise around what you're doing. And the right people are going to find you, right? It's like that restaurant example. There's a bunch of people in line, making noise. I'm driving by, I'm hungry, I want to buy some food. I see it, I go there, boom. And so building your community is important, and understanding how to do that. And also included in that are things like LinkedIn groups, which LinkedIn's put more focus on. There's some great strategies for community building using LinkedIn groups. And so understanding that and how to use them and having a community is important. I always mention email too. Having a big community that you're connected to with email is also mandatory in building out a practice. And this gets into email nurture. And again, another episode. I've done that episode. I can always DM me. I'll send you that link. But email list building, building that community nurturing, huge. So community building is important. And then as you build that community, it's engaging with your community. This is another kind of problem point I see is people on LinkedIn, they're not engaging with anybody else. They're just throwing stuff out there. Hey, see me. But they're not being proactive in reaching out to other people or commenting on what they're posting. Use that example of going to that networking event in real life. When you walk into the room, are you going to stand in the corner? No one's going to come up to you. What really is going to work to meet people is you're going to go up and get up in somebody's grill, shake their hand, ask them questions, be curious about them. And that's what you got to do on LinkedIn is you got to engage through Sales Navigator. That's a phenomenal tool where they make it really efficient to be able to engage. And there's a lot you can do on Sales Navigator. Probably going to be my next episode is going into some new upgrades there. But engaging is important, and you will see the benefit, because when you start commenting on other people's posts, they're putting out stuff that's important to them, their business, about them. Maybe they got a new job or an award, who knows what. But if you start showing some genuine interest in other people that way, it comes back in spades. And my mantra is always big: give before you take. Give, and then it comes back to you. So you've got to engage with others when you're executing on your personal brand. Okay, as I wrap it up here, I want to mention this is I go into every component of the toolbox that I use to build out, my businesses and what I help others get going and partner with them on. I spent a lot of time putting my components into the toolbox. I want to give it to you. It's a strategy session. And if you text Giant Help to that number, you'll get instant access to the toolbox. And I kind of pull the curtain and reveal exactly what I'm doing. And it's a great session. And I know you'll find some value out of that. So take a second and text Giant Help to that number, get that toolbox. And as you're watching that, always make myself available for questions. You always want to reach out to me if you have any questions on anything I talk about in that toolbox that relate to your own practice. I love having conversations, love learning about other people, other businesses, very passionate about that. So I want to thank you for coming along here. I do this every Thursday for Giant TV, 1 p.m. California time. So stay tuned in to my LinkedIn profile, my channel. You'll get alerted. I post when I have a new show coming out and what the topic is. I also do a show, live show, every Tuesday, guest appearances. It's a Wealth Protector TV show, and it's all about asset protection, business planning, and have some really, really top-notch, #1 expert attorneys and planners on that show. That's also at 1 o'clock Tuesdays. So look for that, because I put that out on my channel too and market that. And it's same scenario, great information. So thank you. We'll see you next time.